Hello, SeriesFest. I am Claire Taylor, the Director of Programming, and I am joined today for a Q&A with the fantastic team behind the digital short series selection Heat, which I can't say in its native title, so I'm going to let you guys say what the actual title is.
Hitta!
Hitta! Easy!
Yeah. It's not that hard. It's not that hard.
It's just so intimidating. Well, thank you all for being here. And we are so honored to have a great lineup that includes this wonderful international selection and also to have the team back for a second season. You guys blow us away with your content. So my first question, and this is always my first question, it's a big joke now, but so what is the genesis of this project? Where did this idea come from?
Shall I pick that up first, guys? Because I think I was there at the genesis of the whole thing. I started a conversation with a campaign, a cultural campaign here in the Netherlands called Warming Up, and they wanted to create a national campaign to raise awareness about climate change and to ask people to step up and go to their local governments or national governments to demand better policy. And so they asked me, can you create a film or a series or something which can grip audiences and tell them about climate change? So it was quite a concrete question. It was something I was thinking about for a long time as well, to tell a story about climate change. It's something that really comes to heart, and I feel it's such an urgent matter, but it's really difficult. I was really stressed out how to do this, because telling a story about climate change, I don't want to, we see films about icebergs melting, about ice bears, and about the planet, but how can you tell a gripping drama story with these huge themes? So after a few nights of not sleeping, basically, I came up with the idea, well, I want to tell a story about the impact of climate change in the here and now to us normal people living our daily lives, to show how real and close by and close to home climate change already is, basically, and can be. So that was the start. And I started researching and talking to climate scientists, and we got all these ingredients in that were the basis for the story where a heat wave hits a city and we follow different characters.
So that's amazing. And what a daunting task that you took upon yourself. Was there a lot of research that went into the really specific thing of not only climate change, but it getting the global warming part? What kind of research did you do?
Yeah, well, we spoke to several climate scientists and meteorologists, even scientists who are involved in like urban planning and anybody involved in either climate change or global warming or the impacts on society of that. Because I really wanted whatever we show in the series that it has a factual scientific basis, that it's either happening right now or could very possibly happen tomorrow, and to show that it's really close by and it's not science fiction in that sense, it's real. So we had massive amounts of conversations with people and input, and that really, frightened me to death, basically, because it's a subject that I have a tendency not to look at, because I think it's just too big and abstract, and I'm a bit afraid of it. So when I was talking to all these people and hearing how real it is, that the water can just stop coming out of the faucet here in the Netherlands because our water supply can actually dry up, which almost happened last summer when we were shooting, actually, in parts of the Netherlands. I mean, these things we take for granted can just suddenly, disappear. That's quite shocking. So that was really the basis, that whole research part, and then trying to translate that to a story which can grip an audience and create characters which we feel for and live for. That was the next challenge after that.
Well, and Heat also has incredible sets, which I haven't seen a lot of these bigger sets in independent content this past year, as we've kind of had to scale down. I mean, did you guys actually shoot inside of a train?
Yes, actually we did. It was a train museum, but we did shoot in a train, and all the sets were very real. Of course, we had to dress it up, of course, but we wanted to make it as real as possible. So I'm glad it came across that way.
Yes, it feels very big, the whole production, including your use of technology, which I'm always impressed by how contemporary it felt and feels. Was that, how was writing in all of these elements, climate change, global pandemic, technology, that's a lot to put into a script. It's only going to be 15 minutes long or 6 minutes. What was the writing process like?
It nearly killed me, basically. You mentioned the pandemic. We were just about set to go into production, and then suddenly COVID hit, and we were in lockdown. We actually had our first pre-production meeting, and the next day we were in lockdown in the country here. So that was a nightmare, and the script did not have anything of pandemic, COVID pandemic elements in it. So we had to make a decision, either go forward or rewrite all the scripts we had. So we decided to do that last bit. So we incorporated the pandemic into the script, which was a massive overhaul and rewrite. On the one hand, it was tough, but on the other hand, it did give us, I think, a lot of unique aspects which I didn't think of, because it does give a dimension to the whole story which it would not have otherwise. I mean, wearing mouth masks in the heat is something which is extra constricting, and it feels oppressive. And there are some scenes there which were created which work really well. So it was on the one hand, it's a huge challenge, but it was also a gift, I could say. And the idea of mayhem hitting normal life seemed like a really scientific, faraway idea when we started. Nobody thought there'll be a run on supermarkets when something happens. That won't happen. And of course, when I don't know how it was in the States, but here people bought massive amounts of toilet paper and that kind of thing, and there was a run on supermarkets. So suddenly, what I wrote in the script earlier, suddenly we saw that happening, in the news. So in the one hand, it made the whole scientific world we created in the scripts become more real. Unfortunately, I must say, on the one hand, but fortunately for our story. Yeah. So it was tough.
It sounds tough. And Luca, what about you? What was your role on the project? And I guess this is also a question for everybody, but if you could share your favorite memory of making Heat.
I think one of my favorite memories is my fighting scene, because I never did one before, and I really like action scenes. So in Heat there are a lot of action scenes, and I really liked doing them. It was the first time I did action scenes, and yeah, I really loved it.
Amazing. What about for you, Anwar?
Yeah, for me, quite the same. I also had some action scenes, so some fight scenes, running and fighting. So it was fun to be part of that. But the whole production, it was strange to, like, the fact of doing a production during COVID. It's really strange. So the whole project was like amazing for me. But if I have to look at the acting scenes, I think the fight scenes were the most fascinating.
And to do all of it during COVID and fight scenes and action, it had to take so much planning. Do you guys have a tip for a filmmaker who might be taking on something this big during COVID?
Well, when we started this production, it was, we went in lockdown for the first few months, and then we started up quite fast, thanks to our partners and the casting crew who were very committed. And we were one of the first to start up again in the Netherlands. So it was like inventing the wheel again. That felt very strange. We were the first to open up after the whole lockdown of the whole society. And actually, I remember Luca coming into casting, and she was like, "Oh, you are the first people I see in real life for like a few weeks." And it was so strange.
It was like, if you a handshake.
So and I think now we do production now in 2021, and it's a lot more regulated. There are tests available and everything. So I think the only tip I can think of is get used to it. I'm afraid. Yeah, it's. think of a workaround or a work flow, because, well, the pandemic is here to stay one way or another. So yeah, be prepared. And well, sometimes it's scary, but well, if we don't do if we don't if we act on that on our fears, we can't make anything. So that would be a shame. So please do make things and be prepared.
Sure.
Yeah.
Martine, what is next for this fantastic cast and crew of Heat? Are we going to see more episodes? Are we going to see this in the US? Or you started a whole new project about icebergs? You're always
Oh, we're always working on new projects. Originally I had this idea for this series to be a long form series because it's such a big story, right? And I like the fact that you called it such a huge production, because it is on the one hand, but it's a very small. We pulled strings out of midair just to get something looking like it was big, but I think we all feel the urge to tell the story and have the time also to dive into our characters more. So I would love to do, let's say, more internationally oriented remake of the series, which gives that breadth. Not only because I feel the story is worth giving that scope, but also because I really feel the subject matter is so urgent, and there's just not that many stories about climate change in the sense of drama and making it really close, and talking about what the impact can be in very surprising ways. So I'm hoping we might get that off the ground. And aside from that, I'm writing a feature film now, which will hopefully go into production next year without too much COVID, which is not about icebergs, but it is about the impact of technology on our daily lives. So that is a recurring theme, I guess, in what I do.
I love it. And I think you guys have tackled something that is truly global in such an interesting and compelling way. And thank you so much for joining us at SeriesFest Season 7. And I'm telling you, you're either coming to Denver or I'm coming to you next year. Enough with these Zoom meetings.
Definitely.
I can't wait to shake your hands or nod elbows, as Lucas said, in the future. And thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you too.
Thank you for having us.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.